This yoga pose is called the triangle pose, and it's a useful pose because it stretches a number of different parts of the body. So it stretches through the hip muscles, particularly the adductor muscles and the hamstring muscles. It also teaches about alignment, and it is a very, very good stretch for the spine itself. So particularly for those individuals who get quite a lot of back pain or stiffness in the spine, this is a brilliant pose. So let's just have a look at the triangle pose to start with. So a quick demonstration. So let's just talk through that whole pose, and then we'll go through the various different components and modifications of the pose. So I start off in my mountain pose with my feet together, and I'm focusing on drawing the crown of my head up towards the ceiling, lifting my breastbone slightly and feeling a comfortable firmness in the abdominal muscles and around the hips. So I'm drawing the hips in, drawing the tummy in slightly, lengthening, and my fingers come towards the floor. Now, the mountain pose we've covered, but the mountain pose is an important pose just to feel that alignment to start with. Then I put my feet apart, and they come apart about the length of one of your own legs, and my arms come out into a horizontal position so that my middle finger is feeling as though it's pulling me horizontally and lengthening. I'm then going to turn my toes. I'm going to turn my foot. So on the foot, which is on the trailing leg, so if I'm going in this direction, this would be my trailing leg, I'm turning the foot to about 45 degrees. On my leading leg, which would be this one, I am drawing the whole of the leg round so that the foot and knee face in the direction that I'm going. My arms are still horizontal. And then I'm going to take my hand forwards and down towards my leg. And as I do so, I grip my leg and then I lift my upper hand a little bit. So what I do to start with is I lengthen my spine so that I'm going to bend through the whole length of the spine rather than hinging here. So I'm lengthening my spine and then I'm drawing around. And as I grip my leg, I'm doing so with the thumb on one side and the fingers on the other so that I have firm grip rather than just having my open hand. So I want thumb on one side, hand on the other rather than sliding off. So let's have a look at how we can go through these various different portions of the exercise in a little bit more detail. So how far do we have the feet apart? Well, I want to be stable, so I'm more stable with my feet wider apart, less stable with them narrower. But of course it depends on your amount of flexibility, so you don't want to be overstretched or to feel uncomfortable, and as you improve with the pose you may find that you can get your legs further apart. But broadly speaking, we're having those feet about the same width apart as the length of one of your legs. So it could be narrow if you're less flexible, but I wouldn't take it wider than that because then you'll feel as though you're going to slide. As I'm turning the feet then, for my trailing leg, what I'm doing is to lift my toes so that I swivel on the heel so that my foot is at 45 degrees. And the reason for that is it takes a little bit of the stress off the knee. If I keep my foot facing forwards as I bend sideways, it puts a little bit of stress on the knee. So with my other leg, I'm turning the whole of the leg. So I'm turning from the hip. So the knee and the foot face the direction of travel on this leg, but on this leg, the knee and the foot face at 45 degrees. And then once I'm there, there's a tendency for the hips to drift round a little bit, but I actually want my hips to still face forwards. So my shoulders and my hips maintain that alignment rather than me turning around. And then as I'm coming across, I want to avoid this hinging here, so I lengthened and then I went down towards my leg. So how far down do we go? Well, we want to be going mid-shin preferably, so if you can come right down, some people can come right down onto the floor, that's fine, but normally up onto your ankle. If you find that you're struggling with that, you can put your hand either above the knee or below the knee. I wouldn't put it on the knee because that tends to push the knee into hyperextension, so it pushes the knee backwards. Okay, so we've got a couple of modifications we can do here now. The first thing is, if you can't reach down, you grab a chair. So this is a yoga chair, but then that dining chair will do, so any firm chair. And what I'm going to do is I take up this position, I've turned my feet, so trailing leg 45 degrees, leading leg comes right round, and then as I come down, my hand goes onto the chair. So I can lift into that position. If you find that that's too cramped up for you, so you're a little bit more flexible, you can put your forearm onto the chair and lift up. And if you find that that movement is too much, then the chair can be the other way around and you can just use the chair back. So either with your hand or with your forearm. And I can focus then on correcting my hips. So my hips, rather than facing this way, my hips are facing towards the front. So I'm able to keep my balance on my forearm here and I can focus on my hips, or I might want to focus on the shoulder. So I'm focusing on lifting that arm upwards and I'm quite comfortable because I'm stable on the chair. So that's modification number one. What happens if as we turn the leg, that you find that your ankle is not particularly flexible, so you're having problems trying to get that amount of movement? Well, we can lift the back of the heel upwards. So I've got a very slim yoga block here, but you could equally well use a thick book or just a folded towel would be fine as well. And I'm placing that on here so that my heel is slightly higher than my toes. So I'm in that position and it just enables me to take some of the stress off my ankle and off my Achilles. So the other problem that people find is that they wobble a little bit, they're slightly unstable, and also they find that it's difficult to get all the various different segments together. So we've got to think about feet and knees and hips and chest and shoulder and head, and that all becomes a little bit much. So splitting it up is quite good, but also holding it for a slightly longer can be useful. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my mat and slide it up towards the wall. So now I'm going to do the same pose, but I'm resting against the wall. So my heels are just slightly away from the wall, but my buttocks are actually brushing onto the wall. As I bring my arms out, my fingers are touching the wall and my shoulders are just lightly brushing. So I just go through the same pose. So my trailing leg turns to 45 degrees, my leading leg turns right round, and then I'm scraping the wall with my fingers as I come down into the pose. And now I can focus on really getting those shoulders round, so my shoulders are pushing onto the wall. If I find that my top shoulder is lifting away from the wall, I've got to focus on pushing back. I can even get a training partner to gently press onto my chest. So I'm lifting myself upwards in that position, and it just gives me that little bit of balance. So we've got a couple of different modifications there then. We've got using the chair for extra balance, lifting the heel with a block, and using the wall. So the wall is acting for support. So we've got a variety of different things that we can do. So that is our yoga triangle pose.